It's time to make something happen. Visit MakeSomethingHappen.TV to be a guest on our show. Our showcase author, Riley Perez, his book, What is Real? The Life and Crimes of Darnell Riley. Guest producer, my niece, Audrey the Fourth. That's Audrey Melinda Wiggins. Thanks, Lindy. You did an awesome job. Executive producer, Altogether Marketing, LLC. Producer, Audrey M. Wiggins. This is a Mason Wiggins Media Group production. Power of branding. Logo. Slogan. Colors. Website. Customer service. Product experience. Company values. And you. Make a touchdown with your branding today with Altogether Marketing. Visit altogether.biz. While on a vacation in LA, I had the opportunity to meet our current showcase, Riley Perez. He spent 10 years in the California State Prison System, a journey that began January 22nd, 2004, when he broke into the home of Girls Gone Wild founder Joe Francis. Throughout that night, Riley filmed a blackmail video and demanded money or payment in exchange for not releasing that tape to the public. Today, he is an author, he's educated, he is a son, a loyal friend, and free. Welcome to the show, Riley. How are you? Good. You're welcome. Yes, this is awesome. So we're here to discuss your book, Riley Perez, What is Real? Life and Crimes of Darnell Riley. And the Darnell, that's your government name, is what we like to say. Right. Okay, awesome. So just to get our general start, just discuss your book, which I want to say is extraordinarily written. I really enjoyed just reading, the literary part of your book.
Thank you.
Very talented. Yeah, you're welcome. And for right now, give us an overview. Discuss what happened that day, and your crimes. How you actually got into a life of crime, and if it was really related to your childhood or not. Just kind of an open-ended question for me.
Well, no one starts off robbing a bank. You start off taking $1 out of your mom's purse, picking up a candy bar at the store, and if you're successful, then you go further in crime. No one just wakes up one morning and robs a bank. If you got caught early on vandalizing a car or stealing a car, you find excuses. Next time I'll do it this way.
Right.
Or I got caught because of this. So, no man can do what he knows is wrong until he's first convinced himself that he's right. So anyone who's wakes up one morning and they find themselves in the middle of a robbery that they're perpetrating, that's not their first crime. If it is, what else is going on in their life? But you become successful in little things, and you decide to push the envelope a little bit more.
Just build
completely. And my life, every day of it was in some form or fashion involved in crime. Either it was the planning of it, the execution of it, or the covering up. So what led to the crime against Joe Francis? Months prior, I had got an understanding of crimes that he had supposedly been accused of by someone who couldn't go to the police. A girl says that he took advantage of her while in Mexico. So individuals that I had association with asked me to step in. So planning out the crime, being that he's part of the LA club scene, the LA social life. I had known him, I had been around him, we had plenty of mutual friends. It was a matter of figuring out the perfect time. And he wasn't beat up, he wasn't assaulted. It was just a matter of embarrassing him, which is why I made the video.
It was over a year before your actual arrest. So what was your life like then?
Well, on the day I was arrested, this was the last thing that I thought, why I was being arrested. That tells you I had plenty of other things that I could have been arrested for. So the year before my arrest, I was living my life. I had already retired, so to speak, in that I had stepped away from the everyday life because I had had some success in it. So it was now time to move forward in the ventures that I wanted to get into, which was film.
Okay. So that's odd that you say you want to get into film when you filmed that,
Right.
the compromising video of Joe
Right.
Francis.
Right.
Yes.
I wasn't going to lead with that DVD.
Okay.
But this was in the days of DVDs, so yes.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I remember technology very well. Yes. It's kind of odd how today we're being filmed today from a mobile phone.
Right.
Yeah. That's amazing how technology is moving
Not
forward.
a big VHS camcorder.
Right, some lights and a little backdrop. Although I have to say, this is your home, and I'm excited to be here. Our backdrop here is absolutely beautiful. It's peaceful, a nice breeze, blowing over us. This is awesome. There were 3 people in your life that you deemed important. You want to tell us about them? Your mom, Walter, your grandfather.
So Elle, at the time, she was my living girlfriend, and important because she wouldn't have been living with me if she wasn't. We were, full relationship, and as you read in the book, the way she left, there would have been no perfect way. I was still facing trial and the possibility of a life sentence, so there was no way that she could have left that would have been, the best.
Right.
The timing wasn't wasn't the best for me to be losing supporters.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So my mother, I think for obvious reasons, because she put up with a lot of my shenanigans over the years.
Mother's love.
Right. Yeah. The unconditional love. Yeah. So with my grandfather Walter, I tried to impress him, emulating his level of success, and he gave me a great start in life, great foundation, education, moral values, and me being arrested, the crime being publicized as it was, was a major disappointment and embarrassment to him. So there wasn't going to be a way while I was inside that I could make amends or
like redeem
clean up
yourself.
my acts. Yeah. Any redemption was going to be post-release, and what I do from there.
Right.
Mainly, prove it to myself. Everyone else just benefits from seeing me move forward.
What's it like in prison? The gangs, the life on the yard. What's a typical day? There's a lot, going on in your book. People really have to read that to get, in-depth descriptions. But give us an overview. Give us that visual.
It's a fully functioning society. So there's the black market, drugs, tattoos, cigarettes, which are illegal in California prisons. So there's a black market world that most of the problems in prison revolve around drugs. The gangs, the cliques, the various factions, they're going to always exist in some form. But most of the bad blood that causes the wars and the fights are over bad drug deals.
Wow.
People who have vices going in, you can continue your activities while you're in there. And, if there's going to be any sobriety and long-lasting, it's on the individual, just as it is in free society. So it's a fully functioning society. It's hyper-violent. You have thousands of people in the yard with 1,000 different objectives and goals, and how does this guy's objective conflict with mine? If it doesn't, then peace to you and let me go on my way.
Or you get stabbed.
That happens a bit. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that That's interesting, and also too, I remember reading here in the beginning, and so people would always ask you, what gang affiliation you were with, and you would respond with
The others.
yes.
That's so everyone has seen enough movies to know that the main three gangs in California, or ethnic groups that make up the prison, are black inmates, white inmates, Mexican inmates. Then there are all the other people that don't fall into those three categories. Well, and even in those three categories, there are subgroups: Northern Mexican, Southern Mexican, which have been locked in a 45, 50-year battle. The others are folks, Russian, Israeli, Cuban, Puerto Ricans, that have an alliance under the name Others. So the other group, the others, Russians, Israelis, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, and Samoans, Pacific Islanders, Asians,
Wow.
all have an alliance under the name Others. And it's been lasting just as long as all the other groups have been around. Not much has been said about them because it doesn't have the violent history that the Black Guerrilla family or the Aryan Brotherhood has. Mainly because we stay neutral to most of the gang conflict.
Okay.
But nevertheless, you're still a human, you still interact with other humans, and inevitably conflict will arise. To what degree you allow it to remain is where the politicians come in.
Right, the politician outside or inside?
On the inside, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, you have the rules that the
Mhm.
institution has laid out for us. Then you have the rules that the inmates place on each other. And part of your battle is, which rule will I follow at this moment?
Okay.
Because the institution rules say ABC, but that particular rule I could run afoul with the inmate rules, and they're the ones I gotta wake up to and go to sleep with.
Yes, yeah. So you managed to survive, for 10 years in a prison system, protecting yourself. So you have to have like different alliances, different people on your side while you're on the inside.
On the inside, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's constantly checking the temperature and see, if any of his vices get our group in a mix today. Hopefully not. Okay, we get to go to another day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of 365 days.
A lot, yes.
Yeah. When you first got in, I believe it was county, LA County.
The LA County Jail?
Yes. Okay. And there was an inmate, Biggie, and two Latino inmates in the cell, and you had come in, and I could see you just really want to just lay down.
Right.
I mean, he was constantly talking, but he was kind of introducing himself and the life, and we talked about the different gang names, and this is where I picked up on the part where I asked you, did you ever refer to yourself as,
right.
To others? And so tell us a little bit. I thought he was an interesting character.
So one thing that he had mentioned, Biggie, and other inmates, you're always going to be the new guy somewhere.
Okay.
You get moved around. So it's the duty of one of the guys in your group to give you the rules of the house. Pretty much the same rules that apply for convicts going back 100 years still apply. Don't steal, don't cheat, don't snitch, mind your own business. But then you have all the gang rules that are these rules that wouldn't apply in normal society, but in there, those are the rules that allow the house to continue to roll. So Biggie, one of the guys that gave me the breakdown about the LA County Jail, I think it's one of the largest jail systems in America, maybe the world. But he's giving me the rules about the current war that was going on in 2005 between the black and brown gangs. And it's his duty to tell me what's going on, because if I step out of line, I put his group at risk. So once the rules have been given to you, it's on you to follow. If you don't, then they get to discipline you. And corporal punishment can range from 2-3 guys against you because you violated the rules. Because if they don't discipline you, then that's telling the other groups that they're either weak or they can care less about the disrespect that might have been had. So it becomes a matter of survival to follow the rules. So giving the rules ahead of time is the duty of the guy that has. He's like the executive officer of that particular unit. And then the gang rules amongst your own groups that you're with, the Bloods and the Crips. Are they going at it? Other Crip gangs. All these different wars that go on in society that spill over into prison. There's the inside-outside connection that you really can't break off.
Wow. It could be, at certain times, could be frightening, I could imagine. Just, you're sleeping one eye open, one eye closed.
Yeah, well, going in, that's what I wanted to do, was sleep, wake up, and maybe it's all over, but you wake up and, it's still here.
Day. Right, yes, yeah, another day to survive in that life. And like in that 10-year period, because you get to school, you get to do different things, different jobs, you have to keep your mind focused, on something other than, you're going to be here forever, so to speak.
You find a schedule. There's a schedule that you have to abide by because the institution, they have to count you at a certain time. You have to be in some type of program. The programs that are offered, you have the jobs that support the institution, landscaping crew. Let
me stop right here real quick. Okay. So at what point do you get involved or put into situations like that? Is it when you first get there and they decide you're going to do this, you're going to do that, or is there a certain period of time of months or years to go by before you're acclimated, not acclimated, but or assigned? Yeah, would be
most of what your prison life is going to be, schedule-wise, programs, is predicated on how much time you have remaining, what your crime was. That determines whether you're going to be allowed to work in a job that may be close to the gate, less supervision. So everything is tied into your crime, the time you have remaining, and your behavior while you're in there. So, you could want to be in one of the welding programs or construction programs, but I could be in it for 2 months and maybe it takes a year to get certified. A lockdown happens 6 months. I start back all over.
Wow. So what does that do to you emotionally?
You're constantly being tugged around. You may be seriously focused on, okay, this is one way I know I can gain a trade and go back into society and use this trade. And now you're pulled back a couple more months. And if you're involved in the incident, who knows how much longer? You get transferred to another institution, you start all over. So there's little consistency in the program. You may not be gang affiliated, but because these are the rules of the house, you're now involved in something that in normal society you wouldn't be faced by it.
Right. All right, so you went to prison, for 10 years. We really didn't talk directly about your convictions, but what were the actual charges starting out, and what did you end up being convicted for?
Initially, I was arrested for kidnapping, robbery, extortion, kidnap for ransom, home invasion, all one incident, but usually the district attorney throws as many charges at you as possible.
I know, it's like, well, I was only, with Joe Francis. How did I get, 20 charges?
Right. The point being, it's a continuous act, but each element can add a whole new world to it.
Oh, like a recipe, ingredients.
Yeah, completely. Ultimately, we settled on reduced charges of robbery, extortion, and that's what I was given this sentence of 10 years, 8 months for. So it was a compromise because, while going through the preliminary hearing, the district attorney saw that they didn't have a witness they could really cross the finish line with in Joe Francis, the victim.
Okay.
So compromises happen all the time. Do we want to go forward with a lengthy trial? And no matter how confident I was that we had scored enough collateral damage, I knew that I had committed the crime. So it became, just give me something I can live with.
Okay. Absolutely. And here you are. Okay, so if you had to do it again, what would you do differently?
Well, I wouldn't do it again. That's
Okay.
the first
That's
answer.
that's a good answer. Okay, that's the answer. Oh my gosh. So what's your message though for young gangbangers, whether in in prison now or just out here on the streets? If they could hear this video,
Young
this interview.
gangbangers or anyone
Just anyone with
involved in
yeah,
some
go ahead.
crime.
Go ahead. Yes, anyone involved in some crime because it'll lead like we talked about earlier in our
You
our
build on it.
discussion. Right.
You build on
Exactly. Exactly.
Any message would be read the book first.
This is your education right here.
Read the
What
book
is
first.
real?
And a variation of you're going to mind someone.
Mm-hmm.
So life isn't that hard, following the simple rules. Often I've run into guys in there 18, 19 years old. Maybe they had a year or two left on their sentence. And I give them a simple rundown. I'm at the time 30, 34, 35, and I'd say, take 10 years. You don't have to have any major trade, but just a laborer on a construction site. 10 years and you're saving X amount of dollars a month. In that 10 years, I'd often tell them, you'll be still younger than I am at the time of the story. How much will you have saved? How much will you have learned? Just naturally, you'll get bonuses and you'll move up in the construction crew. You'll probably be running the construction crew at that point. Simple things like that, and you'd see the light bulb go off every now and then. How many guys took up the information? I don't know, because how many times did I ignore information that was simply laid out to me? So, you're going to mind someone. Is this how you want to be viewed? And it's easy to get in there. It's pretty hard to come out.
Okay.
So,
gotta pay the price, right?
So what does your life look like in 10 years? And how you're living, is this how you want to be remembered?
Tell us about Scott. You called him while you were in prison.
Yeah, a good 2 years into my sentence, I started calling old friends to see who would still be around. And one of my buddies kept telling me, start writing. What are you writing? And at the time, I was just taking notes. So I didn't write the book while incarcerated.
Yes.
But I was taking notes, and upon my release, that's when I decided to just take out a chunk of time for a week or two. And that's when I wrote the book. So after writing it, I sent him over the manuscript. And, you asked me what I was writing. So here it is.
So when you sent it as a manuscript, did you know you were sending him a manuscript or just sending him, look, this is what I wrote?
No,
at that point you were putting it in a book form.
I wanted to be published. He had just released his book, which was a collection of his plays. And he then got it over to his publisher, who then became my publisher. They liked it. They liked the message, and they liked the writing style. So we then had the first conversation, and things in the publishing world, everything has its own timetable. So it wasn't, okay, let's go to print tomorrow. There's the edit, there's the marketing, and everything else that comes with it. So interesting process all in itself. But for Scott to take the chance, handing it over to his publisher was a big plus. And for him to remain friends with me while I was in there. I'd call him every 6 months, and I'd see his success on television. So,
Wow.
it was nice.
That was some inspiration.
Completely,
Yeah.
yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you say you on television. So you're telling us that you got you still had some contact with the outside world as far as society, what's going on, keeping up.
Yeah.
Yes,
That was
yes.
good, and it was at times a bit. As the world's passing me by, because I can see friends of mine on television. I can look at TMZ and say, hey, I know that restaurant. I know this. And, got another 2 years left. All right, let's continue on.
Right. And you did. You survived and you made it through. So when you first got out, what did you do?
A buddy of mine picked me up, and the next morning I was up running with him and he trains fighters, his boxers, so I was up running with his world champion, so there was no playtime. It was back into action. And
Time to get real, huh?
Yeah.
What is real?
Yeah, there was no time to delay. It was time to get to living.
Okay. And I'm sure you had like different types of jobs, and I know you're an entrepreneur. So what transpired up until like this point where we are today?
Well, being released, I took a couple of different jobs, different buddies' companies. I just wanted to stay busy and just be around regular people. I didn't mind washing dishes in a restaurant, just to be around regular folks, regular conversations. I didn't have very many wants. My needs were all fulfilled. So I knew that I wanted to write the book and get back into where I left off with the production world, the film world. But there's a process to it. So I knew there was going to be a good year or two before traction is had. And that's what I started getting into. And since then, produced 2 feature films.
Okay.
A couple of short films, music videos as a producer, and just keep chugging along. And I've written the adaptation for the book, so hopefully soon enough we'll be getting some good feedback. And the goal is television. So I'm to be able to do what you feel your vocation. That's a rewarding feat.
Right.
And then to get rewarded for it with a paycheck is like the bonus.
It's even better.
Right.
Paycheck. Absolutely. That's fascinating to have your story. The saying, to whom much is given, much is required. And the life that was required of you, those 10 years. It doesn't matter how you got there, but what you had to suffer and go through, to come out on the other side to help somebody else. And to still have that life that you dreamed of before you were there. But you'll be in a bigger way, because it's your story that you'll be telling, along with others. You said you've done some short films and some feature films and things, but this time it'll be your story. And I think that's amazing. That's fantastic. Yeah. So I look forward to that. And so so in a way you answered my next question. It was like so what's next for Riley Perez? But kind of just a continuation of that, just to build. Is that correct? I mean, you can answer yourself.
I continue to do speaking engagements, different high schools. I've done a couple at universities. So one charter school here in Los Angeles I spoke at, and then having spoke at USC Law School, I heard questions from the high school students that were on par with the university students.
Wow.
So, and they come from a lower middle class working area, and to see the engagement from these students was a big boost to know. Okay, wow, there's some kids out there who are seriously focused on what the next step is, as focused as the students at USC. So I look forward to always speaking any group. And what's next in the entertainment space is the adaptation.
Okay.
And hopefully soon we can sit on television.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Riley, if there's nothing else that you want to share with us today, just glad to have this time with you. But feel free though, if there's some closing message you'd like to offer.
Ooh, that's a loaded question. That's a loaded one.
We may have to take a break. Huh? Hit the clapper.
I don't know if I have a closing message. I don't know. To thine self be true. That's just, I'll borrow someone else's because it still applies.
Yes, and which is very interesting. I'm going to be trying to close out, and you reminded me of something else, that each chapter began with a quote from a famous philosopher or writer.
Yeah. As it applies to that particular space.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what it's there for. Yeah. Yeah. The wisdom in it. How does it apply to my current position in life? And if I can learn from it, use it going forward, then it served a greater goal than just some philosopher sitting around eating grapes,
babbling,
right.
Thinking of cool things to say.
Right.
Yeah,
if it works, then use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's why we're all going. Which is why you wrote that book. Hopefully, someone will use it. Better life.
That's the goal.
Absolutely. Thank you again so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yes, definitely. Thanks for having us in your home. Thank you for watching another webisode of MakeSomethingHappen.TV. I'm Audrey Williams, your host, and again, our showcase today is Riley Perez. To showcase on MakeSomethingHappen.TV or appear on any of our web shows, email studio@mwmg.tv. That's studio@mwmg.tv. I'm Audrey Wiggins, and it's time to make something happen. We're global conversations. I can't get that straight for nothing.
Clap in, take 2.
I'm Audrey. Well, on vacation in LA, I had the opportunity to meet our current showcase, Riley Perez. I'll put the dirty old stomach. And who do we have here?
This is Spanky.
Hey, Spanky. Thanks for letting us spend time with your master. Oh, my goodness. Where'd you go?